Yo, what's up, Blackest fam? I hope all is well in your corner of the world. Man, we've been a bit slower putting out new videos over the last 2 or 3 days because there were some audio visual issues. A lot of people told me that on this video, we were breaking down some Oswin Benjamin, that you could hear me great, but you couldn't necessarily hear the video. There was an echo because I'm recording the screen, but now I have a very high quality mic that also picks up that audio. So when it's the music, it actually sounds like there's a double echo, and it didn't help that I was in this very wide open room. Now I'm in this used to be a baby room. I still have a crib here and a variety of other things, but I can oversee my yard and our pool and the neighborhood. And I'm gonna eventually, I think, paint this. With like a chalkboard, like downstairs, so I could write on here, and it's like a meteorology. I could say, right, there's a cold mist or whatever they say. But really excited about this Oswin Benjamin. I think it's still worth doing an intellectual breakdown. It's not really as much as a reaction because I've heard it once when I did my original version of this, but you guys couldn't hear it. I think quality is everything, so I don't mind doing another video. I think when we did this breakdown before, it was nearly 2 hours because of the references. This is a dude that I don't really know a lot of his work, but the dude is knowledgeable, and he just has a rhyme scheme, a flow that's unlike most rappers that are out now. So it definitely takes a little bit more of a breakdown. But I know you guys really wanted to hear this one, so I wanted to do it some justice and have some quality audio with it as well. But let's get right into it. This is Oswin Benjamin. It was just a sick freestyle. I've went over this, but I think it's important that we still do this breakdown here.
Yeah, like
Shout out to
young
Slay.
artists out there, you could be yourself and bring skills to the table, and people will still love you. It's not a problem if you're an innovator. It's not a problem if there's something about you that's unique.
My thinking
And that's
cap
why
on.
on this show, and I know a lot of artists and a lot of management and a lot of labels for some reason put a taint on us, and that's because you can't see the forest beyond the trees. When we have these artists
the
come
bigger
up here and
picture.
we challenge them, it's for your benefit, management and record labels, because it's only gonna make them better artists. And when you come up here, you know what you are. It's not just Sirius XM. You in the Valley of the Hyenas. This is a celebration. Get the applause going for this one, ladies and gentlemen. Not one, not two, not three, not four.
Oh, man.
You have now entered
the 5 fingers of death.
You are now entering the 5 fingers of death.
DJ wanted to stand up for that.
We got ready for this.
I saw the look in his eyes. This guy's crazy.
Yes.
This guy's crazy.
I'm the best. This is just another chance for me to prove it.
But
How many shirts you got on, bro? Look like it's gonna get hot in that bad boy.
Challenging all rappers in the game right now that say they got skills. Put your skills up next to these skills right here and then reevaluate.
The
So you wanna see the
reevaluate.
game right now goes by the name of Oswin Benjamin. DJ wanted to drop that first beat. 5 fingers of death.
Can I get a little volume in my there we go. Check it out. I always wanted to do this. You already know what time it is. Oswin Benjamin, 45 Sirius XM. We here with Swing in the morning and the family.
Planning for your
I love
future
you.
career,
I
bro.
love you all. Let's go. Hey, look. It took depression running this course. Pawn and family go for some months to ride on an iron horse. This was
I think that's important to break down, right? Because it's just a different way of saying something. He said, I'll pawn the family goat for some months to ride on an iron horse. When you pawn the family goat, right? Anything, cattle, sheep, goat, they hold value because they keep producing, right? So when you're pawning the family goat, you're in a dire need, or there's something big that you need. He said it's to ride the iron horse. You might ask, what exactly is an iron horse? Well, he's talking about the new American railroad, right? A lot of people, railroad companies, they wanted to kind of brand that trains was safe travel, right? So when they were trying to convince people that train travel was safe and fun, they hired all these photographers. That's why we have so many pictures of trains going around the mountains. And think about getting in this big metal box if you didn't really understand what it was. And there's smoke coming out of it. It kind of looks like a death chamber, right? So Iron Horse was the name they gave it. This really powerful iron ship, essentially, is what they thought of it as, right?
Regarding my reality to cling to the gospel God spoke, persuaded say come through, now I'm here, the condom broke. See, these is no method scene, no activist, stop.
Yo, he said I had to come through, right? The condom broke. Get it? Come through, like you come through the condom, right? But he also said this is the pro method, right? Like the pro, like professional method scene, no activists. But it's also promethazine, right? Promethazine, you might think of a cough and cold medicines that people use to get high. Prescription cough medicine, it contains something called promethazine. It's actually an antihistamine, but codeine, they're combined with soda or candy, something flavorful, and it creates a drink called lean or scissor, right? Sipping on the scissor, right? When you see Lil Wayne and stuff, he's drinking lean, but promethazine itself is not illegal. It's actually used to prevent and treat nausea, right, or vomiting that's related to certain conditions like motion sickness, or it could treat allergy symptoms such as rash, itching, or runny nose. Again, it's an antihistamine. That's just, I thought I'd give you some useless knowledge there.
Niggas since Tony Hawk was on Activision. Foresight with no execution is just a hallucination. Why have dreams if you ain't gonna act the vision? So I tatted my hands for the motivation. These corporations ain't shit, fuck a day shift, hey bitch. This ass song too important for seasonal wait.
Listen to what he said, right? He said Tony Hawk, all right, his skateboarding game. A lot of people know Tony Hawk, but he had a game named after him that was published through a group called Activision. So he played a few times on the Activision, right? Let's run it back a little bit.
Hallucination. Why is I'm here? The condom broke. See, these is pro method scene. No activist. Stop leaning on niggas since Tony Hawk was on Activision. Foresight, no execution is just a hallucination.
Foresight, right? What is foresight? Foresight's the ability to predict, or the action of predicting something that will happen, or as it's needed in the future, right? That's foresight. Now, you said foresight with no execution is literally just a hallucination. You need to have execution to make your dreams happen. He said, why have dreams if you're not going to act the vision? Again, playing on Activision. Just a tight wordplay there.
No niggas since Tony Hawk was on Activision. Foresight with no execution is just a hallucination. Why have dreams if you ain't going to act the vision? So I tatted my hands for the motivation. These corporations ain't shit, fuck a day shift, hey bitch. This so important for seasonal wages.
For those that know, if you're a minority, especially the Mexican, Puerto Rican side, they use what's called sazon, right? That's a form, it's a Goya product. Well, there's different types of sazon, but sazon is like pre-mixed ingredients that can help prepare a dish quickly, like sofrito, right? A sazon it's a combination of, it's like this reddish powder that you can just put on chicken or pork chops, and it just immediately makes your dish great, right? Assuming you don't over season it. But listen to the wordplay, right? He said, this corporations ain't shit. Fuck a day shift. Hey, bitch. He said this sazon too potent for seasonal wages, right? So he's playing off sazon being a season, but also seasonal wages for temporary or seasonal work.
These corporations ain't shit, fuck a day shift, hey bitch. This ass song too potent for seasonal wages. I paid for showcases of unemployment compensation. Facts, building 400 on Fordham Road, my second home.
Let me know if you guys know. I didn't get this the first time either. He said, build a 400 on Fordham Road. I don't really get that reference. I know we can obviously look at 400. What's Fordham Road, I'm sure, is a street. But what is build a 400? He said his second home.
My resume ain't get it. Retain information going forth. Daily Planet. Shame niggas.
Daily Planet, I think, is a gossip column or a newspaper that's specific to gossip.
My resume ain't get it. Retain information going forth. Daily Planet. Shame niggas. I seen at my lowest lane switching. Facts. I decided to ascend.
When you're lane switching, right? It means you're playing both sides of the fence, right? A lot of people are too scared to stand tall for what they believe in, so they switch lanes and they just jump on bandwagons.
Same niggas I seen at my lowest, lane switching. Facts, I decided to ascend, they digress to being fly. But still I hold kryptonite with them same fingers that I used to take frames off. I seen red flags on block, they crypt on these blues so cryptic. But if I fall off my high horse, they still will cheer. For this Christopher Reeves, revealing pain in them, operating system.
So that whole play is just playing off Superman, right? And I don't know, Superman, Clark Kent was a reporter. I'm willing to bet that the reporter or where he worked was probably called the Daily Planet. I'm willing to bet. I don't know for sure though, because then he said, I decided to ascend. Right? He's going up. They digress to just being fly, but playing on Superman flying, right? Or ascending, going up. But they digress to being fly. They just think Gucci belts, fresh Tims, nice ball fade, and they think they're doing it. He said, yo, I want so much more. I'm still ascending. I don't even know where I'm going to land, but I'm going up. And you guys are just stuck at the stage of being fly. But he said, I still hold kryptonite with the same fingers that I used to take my frames off, right? Kryptonite, that's the only thing that makes Superman lose his powers. So again, it's just a wordplay on Superman. He said, I seen red flags on blocks. They krypton. These blues too cryptic. And again, think about that. What does Superman wear? He wears a red cape that looks like a flag that's blowing in the wind, right? But red and blue, Krypton, these blues too cryptic. He's playing off Crips and Bloods, right? These are gang references.
Off my high horse, they still will cheer for this Christopher Reeves, revealing pain in them, operating system been that.
Yo, it's just amazing wordplay because, for those that know that are into movies or whatnot, one of the people that when you hear of Superman and you think about the movie with Superman, it was played by an actor named Christopher Reeves. And he said, I seen red flags on blocks they Krypton. Krypton. Isn't that where he's from? Isn't Superman from the planet of Krypton? He said, I read red flags on blocks say Krypton. These blues too cryptic. Cryptic means something mysterious or obscure. But I love the wordplay. But then he comes back and he said, if I fall off my high horse, we just referenced this on Akala, talking about a high horse. That's something where you think you're better than someone or you're above someone. He said, if I fall off this high horse, they still will cheer, right? People clap for the wrong reasons. But Christopher Reeves, he actually fell off his horse and then he was permanently disabled. I believe he's disabled from the neck down. He said they still will cheer, but get it, wheelchair? Christopher Reeves is in a wheelchair from falling off a high horse, literally. So it's just sick wordplay and good Superman wordplay.
I seen red flags on blocks, they Krypton. These blues so cryptic. But if I fall off my high horse, they still wheelchair. For this Christopher Reeves, revealing pain in them. Operating system been that iOS to win. Now my Macintosh are from different gardens. These jobs pay different. Rest in peace.
Yo, that's just awesome. He just went right in it. After talking about Superman and the wordplay, he said the iOS operating system. Right? He said, let's run it back. I didn't quite.
What's the win? Now my Macintosh are from different Reeves, revealing pain in them. Operating system been that iOS to win. Now my Macintosh are from different gardens. These jobs pay different.
Yo, yeah. So what he said? He said operating system been that iOS to win. It sounds like he's playing with his name, right? Oswin, but playing on the iOS, which is the operating system for a Mac, right? A MacBook or an Apple computer. But also the wordplay on Oswin or iOS to win. But he said, now my Macintosh are from different gardens. A lot of people should realize that Macs were previously called Macintosh, which is why they have the Apple, which is a Macintosh Apple. He's saying like these Macintosh are from different garden. These jobs pay different. A lot of people know Steve Jobs, right? The famous co-founder from Apple. He rest in peace, right? And then he says, rest in peace. I seen the victory lap. Again, referencing Apple all the way down to Steve Jobs.
If I fall off my high horse, they still wheelchair for this Christopher Reeves. Pain in them. Operating system been that iOS to win. Now my Macintosh are from different gardens. These jobs pay different. Rest in peace. I seen the victory lap, learning to see silver lining through the clouds. More in London.
A silver lining as a sign of hope, where it's like a positive and a negative situation.
Some peace. I seen the victory lap, learning to see silver lining through the clouds. More in London, my grind and fell in love with the hustle. I married down through back blocks, found got off the scenic route. Second eviction.
He said, Laura London, my grind. Laura London, you might know her from that movie, was that with T.I. and Bow Wow, right? Where she's the pretty girl that he falls in love with. But Laura London, I believe she also is an ex and has a baby with Lil Wayne, paid, right? But she also fell in love with Nipsey Hussle, which is what he's referencing. He said, Laura London is my grind, and I fell in love with the hustle. But he's playing on Nipsey Hussle on his name. Rest in peace, Nipsey Hussle.
Kind of rappers and pops to relax, learning to see silver lining through the clouds. More in London, my grind and fell in love with the hustle. I married down through back blocks, found got off the scenic route. Second eviction, kind of rappers and Bible scriptures. Hit the weed, saw Satan. Old hoes I hit up, block more times than monthly messages ain't get delivered. The victim to a lot of angles, a lot of filters, a lot of secrets I second guess about tell a dude.
Yo, there's just a lot of wordplay there. He said second eviction, condom wrappers, Bible scriptures. It sounds like there's a push and pull with good and evil, right? He's struggling. He said, I'm on my second eviction. Now, when you're evicted, it doesn't mean that you just can't pay your rent. You can't handle your obligation, and you haven't been able to handle it for time and time again because it's not an immediate thing. When you go for an eviction, a landlord like myself would have to file a 5-day notice, a 30-day notice, and then you have to reach out to the county, to the sheriff's department, and they put you on a schedule. So by the time someone's evicted, it costs you thousands of dollars in legal fees, court fees, loss of rent. So by getting evicted twice, you're doing some dirt, or you're out here making some bad moves. He said condom wrappers. So he's not paying his rent. He's getting evicted out of homes. Condom wrappers because he's still smashing chicks. But then he says Bible scriptures. Hit the weed, saw Satan. Old hoes I hit up. Right, so he's out here struggling with himself. He said, I've been blocked more times than Muggsy. These messages ain't get delivered. Who's Muggsy, right? I believe he's talking about Muggsy Bogues. Muggsy Bogues was only 5'3", but he was a point guard. I believe he was the smallest person ever in the NBA. And think about that. Even somebody, I'm 6'2" myself. I would be considered small in the NBA. You think of somebody like Steph Curry is only 6'1" or 6'2". He's my size. And he looks like such a small dude. But somebody that might have been genius, 5'3", you know how low to the ground he's dribbling? Right? When you're big and slow, it's hard to react to something like that. But a lot of people know Muggsy Bogues because he was with Charlotte Hornets for 10 seasons. But he had 14 years in the NBA total.
Set trip in the inbox, where that they left me red and blue. Deliberated, dismembering those degenerates. Going to the inbox, the ankles, a lot of filters, a lot of secrets I second guess about tell a dude. Set trip in the inbox, where that they left me red and blue.
That's good wordplay there, and it can mean a variety of different things, right? He said set tripping. A set is where you're from. Where you from? Throw your motherfucking set. Where you from, motherfucker? Where you from? Right? And you know, what you throwing up is your set, right? Where you're from. Yo, I'm from Western and Fulton. I'm from Sacramento and Damon. Yo, I'm from Ashland and Fullerton. Yo, I'm from this. That's your set. So when they're set tripping, it's normally gang violence or a rival set. That's set tripping. But he said set tripping the inbox, where they left me red and blue. I think he's still playing on iOS, Steve Jobs, Apple, iPhones, where you can see when somebody's red or unread, which is why he's referring to the inbox, right? And they left me red, but playing on red and blue, the colors, as in the Crips and Bloods again, or Superman again, right?
Sometimes the Muggsy messages ain't get delivered. The victim to a lot of angles, a lot of filters, a lot of secrets I second guess about tell a dude. Set trip in the inbox, where that they left me red and blue. Deliberated, dismembering those degenerates. Going Chris Angel on hoes that knows I'm heaven sent. 20.
Yo, he said so much there. He said fell victim to a lot of angles. But people that were defending Muggsy Bogues, he probably crossed them up and their ankles fell victim, right? When you cross somebody, it was like, oh, he broke his ankles, right? So I think that's important to reference. He said, deliberate dismembering those degenerates, going Chris Angel on hoes that know I'm heaven sent. Chris Angel, who is he? He's a magician, right? A famous magician. So it might be saying like, yo, I pull a disappearing act on these hoes, right? Yo, that's just good wordplay.
Way to dismembering those degenerates, going Chris Angel on hoes that knows I'm heaven sent. 21 caught chlamydia from a bird.
Oh.
And I ain't
Yeah, now again, he's playing off Chris Angel, right? When you think of a magician, what do you think about pulling birds out, right? A dove came out of nowhere, a quarter from behind the ear, right? So he's saying, but he said, I caught chlamydia from a bird. A bird is a clucker, right? A chick, a woman. But 21, he caught chlamydia. Yo, chlamydia, this is a moment of teaching. Chlamydia is nothing nice. It's a STD that affects men and women. It can actually cause serious permanent damage to a woman's reproductive system. So it can make it difficult for women to get pregnant later in life. You know if you have chlamydia, if it's burning when you're peeing, if you have pain during sex. For guys, they can have swollen testicles. So if you have any of those things that are affecting you, it's really important that you get yourself checked out because you might have caught some STD from one of these birds, right?
Angel on hoes that knows I'm heaven sent. 21 caught chlamydia from a bird. And I ain't let my woodpecker ever since swing. I wasn't getting no ass at all. Now that you're my boss to see how far the pendulum swings.
Yo, he said, I haven't let my woodpeck have her ever since, right? You think about that different ways, but a woodpecker has a nose and he uses it to bang a tree, right? But he's talking about banging a chick. He said, I ain't let my woodpecker ever since. But it also could be on the wordplay, right? How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? I guess that's not a woodpecker, but that's something they use to practice speech. But he said, yo, I wasn't getting no ass at all. Now they're on my balls to see how far the pendulum swings, right? A pendulum swings back and forth. Think about somebody being hypnotized, right? But imagine balls at the end of that. When one ball hits, the momentum goes through the other balls and makes the ball on the other end go up, and it just continuously goes. That's the swing of the pendulum.
I've been through another video from a bird, and I ain't let my woodpecker ever since sway. I wasn't getting no ass at all. Now that you're my boss to see how far the pendulum swings. Look, I've been through a whole lot of shit. I maneuver through manure for a grip now, nigga. Almost lost the message trying to crack the hits, my nigga. Petrified of what this wave may bring. There's two type of boats, and I was told you gotta choose one. It's album sales or relationships, my nigga.
Oh, listen to that, right? What did he say right there? Let's run it back a little bit.
Hits, my nigga. Petrified of what this wave may bring. There's two type of.
I think he said something about manure, right? I maneuver through manure for a grip now, right? Manure is shit, technically. He's just saying I can make my way through the shit, but manure is typically used as fertilizer. And I'm not sure if it's petrified shit, but he also said petrified in the way of being scared, right? He said almost lost the message trying to craft my hits, petrified of what this wave may bring. As a petrified, but also playing on manure, being petrified shit or animal shit, right? But I like what he says here because he also said,
lost the message trying to craft the hits, my nigga.
Right after petrified, he says waves, right? And then he plays on boats and he continues this. Listen.
Petrified of what this wave may bring. There's two type of boats, and I was told you gotta choose one. It's album sales or relationships, my nigga.
Right? He's talking about a wave, right? Think about water and a wave. Then he's talking about two boats still playing on waves. But he said there's you gotta choose one. It's album sales or relationships, right? Ships, boats, waves, right? But he's saying, you gotta choose one. You either want to make friends or you want to get this dough.
The message trying to craft the hits, my nigga. Petrified of what this wave may bring. There's two type of boats, and I was told you gotta choose one. It's album sales or relationships, my nigga. Or you could do both. If you got the strength to back stroke, but that wouldn't handle to you, sure I'm tired. And these titles that won't streaming is dry, but I rock with it till the wave subsides.
Listen, he's still playing off that, right? What did he say? He said, he said he's talking about the wave, right? He said talking about the manure, right? He said trying to craft his hits, petrified of what this wave may bring. And then he went to saying there's two types of boats, sails, and relationships. And he said, or you could do both, right? And that's a play on words too, because he's saying or as in either or, but you think about boats and ships and waves, and you think about an oar, right? That's used to push the boat. You could do both, right? Or you normally have both oars. So it's just an intellectual play on words there that I don't think a lot of people are catching. And then he said, if you got the strength to backstroke, right? That's a swimming move, also playing off waves, playing on water, playing on boats, playing on relationships, playing on oar, then backstroke. And then he said, or with that wooden pen until you're sore, which is rhyming with or, and oars would typically be wooden, right? And then he went deeper into it, and he said, off these titles that woke, streaming us dry, right? Tidal, playing off like a tidal wave, so boats, off ships, off waves, off backstroke, off oar, off a tidal wave, but also Tidal, the company that's owned by Jay-Z, or he's a major investor, and they're a streaming service, but also river, right? Stream, river, water, boats, but also streaming us dry, meaning that it costs a lot of money, right? The arrangements are in the best interest of the title.
But that wouldn't pay until you sure I'm tired. And these titles that won't streaming is dry, but I rock with it till the wave subsides.
Yo, again, right? He said, but I rock with it till the wave subsides. Rock, Rockefeller, Jay-Z, owner of Tidal, streaming service, tidal waves, waves and rocks, oars and boats and relationships. Just sick.
You sure I'm tired of these titles that won't streaming is dry, but I rock with it till the wave subsides. Until they see the hova that resides in every line, I hold it on.
Yo, and listen, or till they see the hova that resides in every line, right? Hova, that's Jay-Z, that's Rockefeller Records, that's Tidal, that's streaming, that's waves, that's rocks, that's relationships, that's oars, that's two boats, right? Sick.
That's a flagrant on Ray John. This is like my stripes, got a tech insight for your mind.
Oh, he said, yo, that's a flagrant on Ray John. What's a flagrant, right? That's a flagrant foul. That's a technical foul on Ray John Rondo, right? He said, disrespect my stripes, got a tech in sight, but a tech like a technical foul, not just like a tech 9, right?
I hold it on, that's a flagrant on Ray John. Disrespect my stripes, got a tech insight for your mind. Blow the whistle, niggas too short to see eye to eye with divinity that resides inside the eyes. What
he's talking about, right? He's still referring back to Ray John Rondo and getting a tech and a flagrant foul, but we can tie that back into Muggsy Bogues, right? Muggsy Bogues, the shortest player ever in the NBA, and then he said niggas too short to see eye to eye. Talking about being short in the NBA, you would think of Muggsy Bogues.
Blow the whistle, niggas too short to see eye to eye with divinity that resides inside the eyes. What a ratchet and righteous do intertwine. I'm the perfect marriage of humanism and God. Look,
yo, that reminds me of dude from Clips, right? Grinding from ghetto to ghetto, to backyard to yard. I keep it Bob Whip. I'm the call me subwoofer because I bass like that, Jack, on and off the track, right? That's Pusha T from the Clips. He kind of has that humanism and God, right? He's like stretching that out. But it's important to understand what he's saying there too. He said where the ratchet and righteous intertwine, right? The best of both worlds, right? I do ratchet shit, but righteous shit too. He said, I'm the perfect marriage of humanism and God. Humanism is kind of hard to define, all right? It's like it's an outlook, or it's a system of thought that puts the importance on humans rather than anything divine or supernatural. So a humanist believes that, they say that there's a goodness in human beings, right? And they emphasize common human needs, and they try to have very rational ways of solving human problems. They don't look to say, it's the sun chariot pulling the the sun chariot across the sky in the morning and at night, and that's why the sun rises. Or the clouds are, it's God crying when it rains. Humanists would try to get to the rational way, a scientific way of solving a problem. It doesn't necessarily have to be scientific, but again, tying it back to the righteous and ratchet intertwining, he said, I'm the perfect marriage of humanism and God, which would be like two opposites attracting as well.
And righteous do intertwine. I'm the perfect marriage
So
of
humanism
humanism
and God.
Channel the Holy Ghost on my own. At Oprah Winfrey's network, and Oprah Winfrey's net worth is found inside every line that I scribe.
And he's playing off OWN, right? OWN is a channel. It's an acronym for Oprah Winfrey's Network, OWN. But he said, look, channel the Holy Ghost on my own. Oprah has her network with TV channels, but he's channeling the Holy Ghost. And he's tying it in for Oprah Winfrey's network and tied that into Oprah Winfrey's net worth, right?
And Oprah Winfrey's network, and Oprah Winfrey's net worth is found inside every line that I scribe. I dance with devils. Now techniques immortalized, still up, pen and flows.
And that was a play for those that don't know. Immortal Technique is an underground rapper. I think he hit his prime in the 90s or early 2000s. But one of his more famous songs is called Dance with the Devil. So he said, I'm dancing with devils. Now techniques immortalized, right? Yeah, so he's talking about Dance with the Devil. That's about a guy that's trying to make his way, and he's trying to be a thug because that's all he knows. And his mom is a really hardworking mom that's busting her ass to try to make do for him and theirs. And man, tragedy happens. You have to hear the song. I think we'll definitely do a breakdown on that. But that's one that if you haven't heard it, you should just probably be in an empty room and do a Immortal Technique, Dance with the Devil. But I'll do a version of it and I'll put it on this station here. I think it's important to break down.
Blueprints, try to be the coolest. 4 challenge with Lucius. Young O was studying home. No disc jockey that.
Yo, he did a lot there. He said pen and flows, blueprints, try to be the coolest, right? Blueprint is an album by Jay-Z, The Blueprint. It's also an album by KRS-One, but more famously known from Jay-Z. So when he brings it back, he said, thought Terrence was Lucius, right? He's talking about Terrence Howard playing Lucius Lyon on Empire. He said, young O, talking about himself, young Oswin, was studying Hove. Again, referencing Jay-Z, referencing The Blueprint, also referencing Rockefeller and Tidal and Streamin' and Wave, relationships, or, right? It kind of reminds me of on the second day of Christmas, nothing again to me. 2 oars, 2 relationships, 3 references to Jay-Z and a new disc jockey, right? Just kind of reminds me of he's referencing stuff from other points in his own verse, right? And other verses in his own freestyle, which is extremely hard to do and hard to write.
I scribes, I dance with devils. Now techniques immortalized, still up, pen and flows. Blueprints, try to be the coolest. 4 challenge with Lucius.
Young O was studying Hove.
No disc jockey dashing, moving clueless, and overwhelmed, undeveloped student.
Yo, listen to what he said. No disc jockey dashing, moving clueless, right? That's a shout out to who? Disc jockey is short for DJ. And he said moving clueless. He's talking about DJ Clue.
I still up, pen and flows, blueprints, try to be the coolest. 4 challenge with Lucius. Young O was studying Hove. No disc jockey dashing, moving clueless, and overwhelmed, undeveloped student. Pursuing music, still in motion like a running man, but so was the son of Shame. I was murdering any beat that I.
Running Man is a festival, but he said still in motion like the Running Man, right? There's a dance you could do. I got a bad ankle, so I can't do the Running Man, but that's a dance. But he said it was also so was the son of Sam. Who's the son of Sam? That was David Richard Berkowitz, right? He was known as also as a 44 caliber killer. He's a serial killer that pled guilty to 8 shootings, even though he probably did a lot more.
See, nigga, raising the ball, best in my pets, message they see Sunday. No, it's the end of them weak niggas. Whoa, let that sink in. I'm constructing these euphemisms for you to listen.
Oh, bro, just the wordplay, right? He said he was murdering any beat that he sees, but he's tying it in with Son of Sam, the 44 caliber killer, right? He said, I'm raising the bar, right? Raising what people expect. But he said bench pressing because you're technically raising the bar. Ooh, And then he's talking about weightlifting. Then he said, man, they see Sunday, know it's the end of them weak niggas, right? But he's referring to weak as in weak from lifting weights, right? Or raising the bar, but also talking about the end of the week. Some would argue that Sunday is technically the beginning of the week, but, end of the work week, end of the weekend, but end of the week playing on week and week, end of the week, but weak mofos that can't lift, right? Then he starts talking about let that sink in, right? Let that sink in, but I'm constructing these euphemisms for you to listen, right? And I think he said sink, but he's tying that with construction, which is sick, right? For euphemisms, for those that don't know, that's it's an indirect word or an expression that's used to replace something that's too harsh or blunt. When you're talking about something unpleasant or embarrassing, you use a euphemism.
I use the truth to expose the gimmicks, imploded village, revealing the sin and Christian, double crossing God like two Nazarenes in a crucifixion.
Double cross, right? Double crossing God. Two Nazarenes, a crucifixion. I think that's pretty easy to break down.
Before the locks couldn't get the pee or a kiss for nothing. When I would kill a mic at every show and CeeLo Green, this big boy would dream to get his family out the dungeon. Make niggas look.
Yo, he's referencing artists, right? He said before the locks. And he started pointing to his hair, right? That's a form of hairstyle, right? When you got locks. He said before the locks couldn't get the pee or a kiss for nothing, right? He's talking about that thing, right? The woman's thing. He's talking about couldn't get the pee, but he couldn't get a kiss either. But he's also talking about the locks, Styles P and Jadakiss, right? That would make up the locks. I believe there was another person there as well, but that's a group from yesteryear. What's their cash, money, cash, hoes. Then the locks, weren't they on that? But he said when I would kill a mic, he's talking about Killer Mike, right? There's another hip hop artist. He said at every show I would see CeeLo Green, meaning he wouldn't get that much money. But CeeLo Green is also a recording artist. Yo, just sick references.
Like two Nazarenes in a crucifixion. Before the locks couldn't get the pee or a kiss for nothing. When I would kill a mic at every show and CeeLo Green, this big boy would dream to get his family out the dungeon. Make niggas look up to the bars or some bottom punk shit.
A motherfucker is looking up to the bars, right? If niggas are looking up to the bars, it's like they're looking up to you, right? But you look up if you're in a bunk bed, if you're in a prison system or a child, and you see the bars from the mattress that sits on it above. They look up to the bars. Yo, sick.
Family out the dungeon. Make niggas look up to the bars or some bottom punk shit. I backslided with the shoulder Michael. I gave him the field without a single Jackson. I gave him beauty in the midst of the struggle. I gave him start of a feet planet, still on the planet. Gave him eyes when I was losing myself. Even when I lied to the whole, still stay true to myself.
Just sick. He's, again, he referenced CeeLo and Killer Mike. Right, the Locks, Styles P, Jadakiss, and then he goes to referencing Michael. He said, I'm backsliding with the soul of Michael, right? When you backslide, that's the, what is it called? The moonwalk, right? He's referencing the moonwalk, the soul of Michael. I gave him the feel without a single Jackson. Again, Michael Jackson, but he's talking about he got in the game without spending a lot of money, a lot of dead presidents, right? Like Andrew Jackson. I gave him beauty in the midst of the struggle. I gave him stardom with feet planted still on the planet. Gave him Oswin when I was losing myself, playing on winning and losing. But Oswin, like he did before with the iOS win, right? Or Oswin. Sick.
I gave him beauty in the midst of the struggle. I gave him started with feet planted still on the planet. Gave him eyes when I was losing myself. Even when I lied to the whole, still stay true to myself. Mama called me a pioneer back when Tyson was biking it. Went to church for that holy field. She knew my soul to hell. She knew what home. Gave him eyes when I was losing myself. Even when I lied to the whole, still stay true to myself.
Even when I lied to the hoes, I stayed true to myself, right? I always lied to the girls, but I never lied about who I am. And I love what he said there about mama called me a pioneer, right? Pioneer is somebody that's at the beginning of something, right? You're a pioneer in this neighborhood that's gentrifying, or you're, exploring the new West, right? A pioneer, not like the radio system, pioneer of the brand. You could be, but pioneer, and he flows that with Tyson biting ears, right? Mike Tyson. Iron Mike, right? But he bit the ear of Evander Holyfield. But he said, I went to church for that holy feel, right? He's referencing Holyfield, and it's a play on words. So he's saying Holyfield, that's a Tyson versus Holyfield fight, where he got Holyfield's ear was bitten.
Mama called me a pioneer back when Tyson was biking his with the church for that Holyfield. She knew my soul needed help. She knew America's focus on the exterior designs. Put a filter on everything for the sake of a life. We so worried about the law, we ain't even fixing the life. We so worried about this war, we ain't even fixing the pipes.
Yo, he's saying so much there, right? He said America's focus on only the exterior, right? They want to show that the grass is green and there's beautiful windows in front, but inside is a busted home. And people do it for the likes on a gram, the fake highlight reel. Like, that's not your real life. This is your highlight reel, man. This isn't what's going on behind closed doors. He said, we're so worried about the lawn that we're not fixing the lights. We're so worried about the walls, we're not even fixing the pipes, right? You only care about superficial things.
We ain't even fixing the life. We so worried about this war.
We ain't even fixing the pipes, yo.
I'm political. I'm just a god with a sinner's view. Ridicule for how the spirit moves. You ever seen a survivor through a Robin Williams type of depression? Well, this dead poet is living proof. I think my third will come up though.
I have to reference that because anybody who knows Robin Williams, right, Miss Doubtfire and all these incredible movies, Jumanji that he was a part in, a lot of people are like, man, he took his own life, right? He was depressed. There's a lot of, I watched this interview and she was like, his wife was like, I hate people saying that he killed himself. He committed suicide because he was depressed. That's actually not what happened, right? He actually had a debilitating brain disease called diffuse Lewy body dementia. It's dementia with Lewy bodies. It's normally referred to as DLB. That's what took hold of him, right? And that's what led him to suicide. It's misdiagnosed a lot of times, but his wife has come out and say that he had DLB. It's a neurodegenerative dementia, and it causes fluctuations in your mental status. You can get hallucinations. It impairs your motor function. So he was losing control of his mind. And even best case scenario, this guy would have been dead within about 3 years. And they would have been very tough years. So he either took his life knowing what was ahead of him and people would see him deteriorating, kind of like we saw Steve Jobs, or he wasn't in a sound mental state and he took his life because he was depressed. But he was depressed not just because of depression, but because of this brain disease called DLB. I think it's so important to reference when people are like, why did he take his own life? He was so loved. And so I just thought it was important to reference that.
God with a sinner's view, ridicule for how the spirit moves. You ever seen a survivor through a Robin Williams type of depression? Well, this dead poet is living proof. I did my third will come up though. A Doug Trio skeeted, left mayonnaise on some patties. A Doug Trio offset by the wave. Know when they take off broad for amigos, that's when I take off like amigos. The same.
You know, the wordplay there, right? He said Doug Trio. I still don't know if there's another reference there about mayonnaise and patties, but I know Doug Trio is the Pokemon mole, right? The mole Pokemon. And that would make sense because he's talking about, he said offset by their ways. But he said, he's talking about, I did my dirt on the come up though. Doug Trio and a mole coming out of the dirt, right? So that's a Pokemon reference. But there has to be something else. Like a trio is normally, I think, a piano, bass, and drums, but it could be a musical trio. Right, but he also references Migos, so you could be talking about a trio that way. And he also said offset by their ways, right? Offset is a member of the Migos, and he said no, when they take off broads for amigos, which are friends, but when you take off like the Migos did as a group. So there's a lot of wordplay going on there, but I think I'm missing something with the Doug Trio.
Come up though, a Doug trio skeeted, left mayonnaise on some patties. A Doug trio, all set by their ways. Know when they take off broad for amigos, that's when I take off like amigos. The same to any little nigga trying to politic and build any. Get the veto. I've been the type of Yanos to speak life to a Vigo. Paint a picture so real, no way you don't touch the people. I remember getting suspended.
Bro, that wordplay is so sick, and I think that's going over a lot of people's heads. Because to understand, he said, I've been the type of Janos to speak life to a Vigo. And I think it's so important to know, right, a culture, pop cultural reference. He's talking about Ghostbusters 2, I believe. There's a part where it's Dr. Janos Poha, right? It's the doctor in Ghostbusters 2. And it meets Vigos. And there's a scene where they're like, evil! Right? Evil! And that's the scene where Dr. Janos Poha meets Vigo. And he's talking about, I've been the type of Janos to speak life to a Vigo. He said, paint a picture so real, no way it don't touch the people. But in that same part of the movie, they say, evil, find a child, right? And I think he's playing off being a pedo, right? A pedophile. And he's rhyming that with Vigo. But you have to have known that point in the movie to know that he's talking about find a child. And he said, paint a picture, don't touch the people. I believe he's calling him a pedophile. Just another way to say it.
Nigga trying to politic and build any. Get the veto. I've been the type of Yanos to speak life to a Vigo.
Oh, I almost missed that. He said, I'm trying to politic. Right, you think of the movie Twins, right? Danny DeVito was in Twins with who? Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's the governor of California, playing politics, and he get the veto like Danny DeVito, right?
Paint a picture so real, no way you don't touch the people. I remember getting suspended in 7th grade for indecent exposure.
Yeah, talking about indecent exposure and pedophiles, right? And touching the people. Yo.
So showing my ass ain't nothing new to me. Pause. I ain't got a problem bearing it all. Fake jerseys, fake products, more and more. Watch and drive the Marbury and all the letters came off. But now I'm gon' fly.
Talk about he's wearing that fake shit, right? Fake jerseys, fake Pradas. He said, I drive my Marbury jersey and the letters came off, right?
Ass ain't nothing new to me. Pause. I ain't got a problem bearing it all. Fake jerseys, fake products, more and more. Watch and drive the Marbury and all the letters came off. But now I'm gon' fly. Naked mine with a Jones fly. Cross my fingers praying you clone style when I close eyes. Oh my, this that student loan flow without the cosign.
Yeah. When you get a loan, if you can't get the loan on your own, they ask for a cosigner. Right? Maybe you make money, but you have bad credit, or you have great credit, but you don't make enough money. Now you can get a cosigner that can say that they're also responsible for helping you pay back the loan. And you can use their credit or their finances to help you secure that loan. But when you get a cosign in the industry, it's somebody vouching for you, right? Like when you're a young up-and-coming artist and people be like, yo, I fuck with Oswin, bro. That's deep shit. And people are going to your Twitter page and your social media accounts blow up and people are co-signing you as an artist.
Hanging eyes on polos on clothesline. 11th item in the 10th item maximum clothesline.
Listen to what he's saying. He said 11th item in the 10th item maximum clothesline. Playing off clotheslines and hanging Izod polos on the previous line. But if you're at 11 items and there's a 10 item max, you're like a penny short, $1 late, right? Or a penny short, a day late. You're behind.
Pins hanging Izod polos on clothesline. 11th item in the 10th item maximum clothesline. Layaway payments for people before the snow time.
For people frosty before the snow time, it's like, yo, you're fake it till you make it, right? You're showing all this ice and you're showing all these cool things that you have before it's your time to shine.
Mama praying the rain will stop falling in the kitchen before the flow dry. Stop and sorty says Kirk Franklin. Look like old flies, like a little that K-Dot plug. My damn right. We back at it. I reincarnate, recap that genius that reads backwards. Oh, that's.
He's a pro. He made his way through the headphones not working right. He actually took Sway's headphones, right? He referenced Kirk Franklin, who does gospel music. GP, are you with me? Oh yeah, we got the right. I don't remember all of it.
Right, we back at it. I reincarnate, recap that genius that reads backwards. All that sodium y'all throwing on my podium, potent enough to live on the surface of salt sea crackers.
Saying people are salty, right? He said all that sodium right? Sodium, another way of saying salt. You're throwing on my podium when he's speaking, right? Potent enough to live on the surface of saltine crackers, right? By definition, a saltine cracker has salt on it.
How you survive in an industry full of poses and meat jackets? I usher in my sound and let the heat clap them.
Ooh. Yo, listen to what he said. How you survive in an industry full of posers and meat jackers? I usher in my sound and let the heat clap them. I believe he's talking about Usher, right? He's referencing Usher as an artist. Let it burn, let it burn, let it burn. A lot of people say that that song is about Usher actually having chlamydia, which we could reference to earlier in the song, right? What did he say about the? You write about chlamydia and the woodpecker and putting, right? A lot of people have said, and he said, let the heat clap them, right? A lot of STDs that they call the clap, right? But an Usher and then Let It Burn, his song. Yo, I don't know if a lot of people are catching that reference about the clap, about the STD, and about Usher.
Street full of poses and meat jackets. I usher in my sound and let the heat clap them. I too got caught with that round of applause. That's what happens when you fire and you this wrong. My fault. A little too much Tracy. I be wrong.
Yo,
the type of nigga
hey, he's snapping on this. This is that all I need is one mic, right? That Nas beat. But listen to what he said. He said a little too much Tracy. He said that's what happens when you fire and you this raw. My fault, a little too much Tracy. I be wildin'. I was thinking of Wildin' Out with Nick Cannon, but I think he's talking about old school. The original Wildin' Out was Ricky Smiley, Monique, and Tracy Morgan. That would be a little too much Tracy. I be wildin'.
My sound and let the heat clap them. I too got caught with that round of applause. That's what happens when you fire and you this wrong. My fault, a little too much Tracy. I be wrong. The type of nigga to black out on the Ku Klux from the hood. While overpriced the tea, believe you praying for good. Genocide and cognac and backwoods and shit. I ain't no better. After this, I might go cop a little bottle or whatever. This is Brownsville meets Selma.
So a lot of people don't reference Brownsville as much as they do Selma, but Brownsville, it's sometimes called the Brownsville Affair, right, or the Brownsville Raid. This was an incident. This is, again, racial discrimination, right? It's the early 1900s. And there was resentment between soldiers and white residents in Brownsville, Texas. It was, I believe it's Fort Brown, but basically a white dude got shot, and the black dudes claimed they knew nothing about the shooting, but they were punished for it. And even the president and Congress, right? Black soldiers insisted they didn't have any knowledge of the shooting, but President Theodore Roosevelt, he was president at the time, he basically said that these men 167 men were discharged without honor because of the conspiracy of silence. So a lot of black dudes, again, when we talk about the government and resenting the government, these are things that we're referencing. Things like the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, right? Not trusting vaccines and not trusting medical professionals. But this is actually the U.S. government. Again, a lot of people had resentment, not just black people, but white people as well. And then there was an investigation by a Senate committee, and they basically upheld Roosevelt's action. So it's always been a matter of controversy. But then when the civil rights movement came, it became a major embarrassment to the Army. And in 1970, there was a publication. There was this guy named John Weaver, and he wrote about the Brownsville raid, and he argued that the soldiers that were discharged were innocent, and the Army did a new investigation in 1972. And again, look at the timing, right? The Black Consciousness Movement, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Black Panther Party of 1966. Now, all of a sudden, this book comes out in 1970, and they actually reversed the order, and they saw that these guys were, in fact, innocent. He also referenced Selma. You guys might have heard of it, called Bloody Sunday. That's what a lot of people refer to it at. That was the march, right, from Selma to Montgomery. It was part of a series of civil rights protests that occurred in 1965 in Alabama. Again, Alabama, this is a southern state, right? Very racist policies. In that year, there was an effort to register black voters in the South. And the protesters marched, I think it's like 50 miles from Selma to the state capital of Montgomery. And of course, there was a lot of violence. There was a lot of white extremists and vigilante groups. During that, they had to deal with police, and it was just messy. So I love when artists reference these points in history, because other people might be interested in what exactly is that, and then look it up, and then you'll always be able to reference that. It's so important to be knowledgeable.
Overpriced the tea, believe you pray for good. Genocide and cognac and backwoods and shit. I ain't no better. After this, I might go cop a little bottle or whatever. This is Brownsville meets Selma. Righteous as monogamy. With a little infidelity in my placenta. That balance you can't get rid of. And with God being my anchor.
You can take the boy out the hood, but you can't take the hood out the boy, right? He said, I'm righteous as monogamy, but there's always a little infidelity in my placenta. That's that balance, right?
Man, to prove somebody and carry substance to all your fellas, I'm too good. And like a white author in 42 with a tight noose, you carry silence you can't get rid of. And with God being my anchor, man, to prove somebody and carry substance to all your fellas, I'm too good.
Yo, listen to the wordplay. I almost missed that. He said that's like God being my anchor man. Think of the movie Anchorman and the actors that were in Anchorman. And then think of God being played in, he said this, Bruce Almighty. Bruce Almighty is another movie that has, I forget Steve, what's his name? Steve something. But basically, or is it Jim Carrey plays God? Oh, Jim Carrey is Bruce Almighty. God is played by Morgan Freeman. But he's referencing a few movies there with Anchorman and Bruce Almighty.
And like a white author in 42 with a tight somebody and carry substance to all your fellas, I'm too good. And like a white author in 48 fidelity in my placenta, that balance you can't get rid of. And with God being my anchor, man, and prove somebody and carry substance to all your fellas, I'm too good. And like a white author in 42 with a tight noose, I don't feel right hanging with niggas.
Talking about lynching, right? When I first heard this, I thought that he was talking about The Noose, a book by Philip McDonald. But thinking about it, there's a book called Neck in a Noose by Elizabeth Ferris, or I would say Fede. Elizabeth Ferris, the book was published in 1942. It's part of a series called the Toby Dyke series, but it's called Neck in a Noose. And if he was talking about a white author in 1942, and a book about a noose, that would be Neck in a Noose by Elizabeth Ferrar. I think that's who he's referring to. If you have a different interpretation, let me know.
And with God being my anchor, man, to prove somebody and carry substance to all your fellas, I'm too good. And like a white author in 42 with a tight noose, I don't feel right hanging with niggas. More concerned with a perfect facade than a flawed picture. See, every masterpiece has its blemishes, Mona Lisa. Pain is foolish, but we ain't stupid. There's a difference.
He said more concerned with a perfect facade than a flawed picture. Also tying it into very early in the flow, where he talked about people are only concerned about the exterior, right? And they do it for the gram, saying the same thing in a different way.
See, every masterpiece has its blemishes, Mona Lisa. Pain is foolish, but we ain't stupid. There's a difference from lack of knowledge and not having that access to it. Cause look,
Bro, think about that. Think about what he's saying, right? There's a difference between saying these people are stupid, and there's a difference between saying these people are stupid because they don't have access to the same resources as everyone else, right? I read somewhere a really interesting quote, and they said, until the lion learns how to write, every book will be from the perspective of the hunter, right? The lion will always be just some stupid animal that he was hunting. But I bet you that lion's got some good stories about how he got up in that ass of that hunter and he killed somebody, right? That fell into the lion's den. But think about that, right? It's not, you can't call somebody stupid if they've never had the resources or access to the same resources as everyone else. They just need education. They need knowledge.
You know about us and what we know about ourselves and not having that access to it. Because look, what we know about us and what we know about ourselves, it never falls in the lines of being congruent. Closer we get to learning that truth, but our reality in reality turn us to casualties, then remove it now. Display a portion in books, then dilute it. Make every attempt to decline every incline movement. Follow a Western European rendition of Jesus with an overall that walks in the steps of Judas. Talk salvation, but talk to race to prove it.
I was going to let that ride. He's just starting to go off, but he's talking about, he says, about our regality and reality, right? Display a portion in books, then dilute it, right? We talk about critical race theory, and we argue in the U.S. about what we should teach in the public school systems. I always say, teach history, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The best thing, we don't want to offend anybody. Just put the truth out there and let people dissect it how they see fit, right? And interpret that information. But we're always displaying things from a European perspective. Again, if the lion can't write, then we're always only know the perspective of the hunter. I don't want to hear about Christopher Columbus or Amerigo Vespucci. I want to know what it was like for Baptiste, right? The first black man in Chicago, in the Chicago area, DuSable, right? But I want to know about the Native American Indians. I want to hear about Geronimo's perspective. Just like they have Wicked. I don't know if you guys remember Wicked. It was on Broadway, but it's from the perspective of the witch, right? You never hear it. You always hear the perspective of everyone else. But I think it's really important to do this. He said, follow a Western European rendition of Jesus. I think anybody that has some common sense knows if Jesus is from this area of the world, he more than likely looked like people from that area of the world, right? Hey, he's more than likely as a person of color. He didn't have straight hair and blue eyes. And, it's just, think about that. It all ties in together.
When the that walks in the steps of Judas, told salvation will taught the races to bruises. The hammer used to crucify has been the gavel. We took those chains and pedaled with pure will to survive in a bar you set that we can't handle. People cycle, the psychological damage that's been done due to this narrative. It's a scary one, but a genius. Fuckers was so unfair of us. They found a way to make us inferior. Take the lions up.
Think about that, right? When they say they found a way to make us inferior, they were so in fear of us. We talk about wanting equal rights and fighting for equal rights. Like, what is the problem with giving a group of people equal rights? What are you so afraid of? Are you worried that we're better than, not equal to, and that's why you don't want us to have equal rights?
Out of the jungle, labeling them a threat. An environment you designed to be ruptured. Environment you designed to be ruptured. But until my lions learn how to write from their own perspectives, every story read to be glorified.
I obviously heard it here, I believe. Because we did a breakdown on this song, but we couldn't hear the audio. There was too much of an echo, so I had to redo it. So, again, I take something from every video, and I always remember it because I Google it if I don't understand it, right? I need to make sure that I can reference these things. I love that. I'm going to definitely use that when I'm doing other breakdowns.
Honest, I might not read the comments. I know they wanted that ruthless eyes with no legs, but instead of Holly Holmes to those heads, Ronda Net stepped on platform.
He's talking about the Holly Holm and Ronda Rousey, the UFC fight, right?
To kick knowledge, and still I'm flying enough to make any woman's esophagus a little strip for my cockpit.
He said, I'm fly enough, right? Playing on like an airplane or fly. Fly enough to make any woman's esophagus a landing strip, right? Again, playing on fly and planes, landing strip for my cockpit, right? Putting my dick in her mouth, basically, is what he's saying.
I'm flying enough to make any woman's esophagus a landing strip for my cockpit. Look, y'all ain't worthy, y'all Fergie. Singing fake anthems in the wrong Francis got key. I try to tune y'all up.
Right? Everybody knows Fergie, right? From Black Eyed Peas. She had to sing the anthem at the NBA All-Star game a few years ago, and she just butchered it, right? But he said singing fake anthems in the wrong Francis Scott key. He's talking about you're singing in the wrong key, you're butchering the anthem. But who is Francis Scott Key, right? This is a guy from the 1800s. He was a lawyer, an author, an amateur poet. But a lot of people know him. He wrote the lyrics for the American National Anthem, the Star Spangled Banner, which she was singing. And again, she jacked it up.
Worthy y'all Fergie, singing fake anthems in the wrong Francis Scott Key. I try to tune y'all out with that fuckery. Now fucking tell them shut up. The old two Black Eyed Peas, you think?
Yo, back in the day, Black Eyed Peas, which Fergie was a part of, who he's referencing, singing that song, the Star Spangled Banner off key. She also has a song in 02 called Shut Up, Shut Up, Shut Up, Shut Up, right? That's what he's referencing.
Y'all ain't worthy, y'all Fergie, singing fake anthems in the wrong Francis Scott Key. I try to tune y'all out with that fuckery. Now fucking tell them shut up. The old two Black Eyed Peas, you think? I'm more Guyanese than male syntax. I pick locks to basements, but we'll keep that low key. The same shit.
He said, you think I'm more Guyanese than male shin tops. I don't know what male shin tops are. Let me know if you know in the comment section below. But I didn't realize he was Guyanese. I just thought he was black. Guyana is a country in South America, for those that don't know. And then I like how he just the wordplay with I pick locks to basements, but we'll keep that low key, right? Low key, Thor, hammer, right?
Chopped it down, roll flower, will roll up on you and clap a nigga like the proper way to make roti, boy. That's what culture for.
Roti, he said, why do you clap? He said, clap a nigga like the proper way to make roti, boy. You clap roti, that's Guyanese roti. It's bread. You use it to soak up curry and all your sauces. But when you're making it, you want to clap it, and it releases the air pockets in the flatbread. It makes it light and flaky. That's what he's talking about, clapping roti.
Knees and male shin tops. I pick locks to basements, but we'll keep that low key. The same shot that roll flower will roll up on you and clap a nigga like the proper way to make roti, boy. That's for your ass. How you plan to build a monumental future? I'm the sculptors of your past. But you gonna stand outside forever, reminiscing on the ones you assisted, but found a fine stock the sculpture of a past. Talking all of that jazz, but you couldn't hold the band if it grew legs and hopped into your Hancock. Herbie Black Beetle, I'm McCartney in the flat top.
Yo, that's sick because listen to the reference, right? He said, what, you gonna stand outside forever, reminiscing on the ones you assisted. Again, think of his references to the NBA, not seeing eye to eye. Muggsy Bogues, the shortest player in the NBA, but now he's talking about assist, right? Reminiscing on the ones you assisted, personifying Stockton's culture of the past, right? Who is the one that's known for the most assists in a game? John Stockton, right? The team that he had, John Stockton and Karl Malone, right? He had that legendary passing game with the Utah Jazz, right? So he's talking about the ones who assisted, personifying Stockton's sculpture of the past, but like the past, talking all that jazz, right? Utah Jazz was Karl Malone and John Stockton, but he said, but you couldn't hold the band. Also playing off jazz and the genre of music, right? Man, just sick. Let's run that back.
Don't you assistant, personifying Stockton sculpture of a past. Talking all of that jazz, but you couldn't hold the band. If it grew legs and hopped into your Hancock. Herbie Black Beetle, I'm McCartney in the flat top. Dancing in the buggy with my Miles and Davis heading to heaven, ain't this?
Yo, that's just incredible wordplay. I just gotta hear that back.
That jazz, but you couldn't hold the band if it grew legs and hopped into your Hancock. Herbie Black Beetle, I'm McCartney in the flat top.
Listen to the flow there. He said, if it grew legs, it hopped into your Hancock, right? He said it had legs and it jumped on your cock, like riding the dick. But he said Hancock Herbie. Who's Hancock Herbie? He's going back and he's bringing it back to the band, which we bring back to jazz, which we do the Utah Jazz, that we do to the legendary passing game of John Stockton, that goes back to assist. Now look at how all that connects, right? He goes back down all the way to jazz and band, jumping on the Hancock. But Hancock Herbie, who is he? He's a jazz pianist, right? That's Hancock Herbie. But he also said Hancock Herbie Black Beetle. Right? What is another way of saying Herbie? Herbie was a little Volkswagen Beetle called the Love Bug, right? He had that number 53 on him. If you were born in the 80s, maybe the 90s, you would get that reference. But listen, Herbie Hancock Jazz, Herbie the Beetle, the Volkswagen Beetle, the Love Bug, number 53. But he also says Black Beetle, right? You think of Ray Schmurder, right? But we also think of Paul McCartney was a Beatle, Beatles, right? Paul McCartney. And he said dancing in the buggy. Also, buggy is another word of saying a Volkswagen Beetle. Then he brings it back to start talking about Miles and Davis, which you could also tie back into jazz and band and Herbie Hancock.
You assistant, personifying Stockton sculpture of a past. Talking all of that jazz, but you couldn't hold the band if it grew legs and hopped into your Hancock. Herbie Black Beetle, I'm McCartney in the flat top. Dancing in the buggy with my Miles and Davis heading to heaven, ain't this? Some shit. God.
Now Miles Davis, obviously he's a composer, but he also played the trumpet, right?
You on the way now, you mother Teresa's ain't got nothing to say now.
He said Godfrey on the way. but he said Miles and Davis before. I believe he's referring to Godfrey Davis, who's the actor. And let's just run it back.
Some shit. Godfrey on the way. Now you mother Teresa, they got nothing to say now. The tale is told. The tale of the tale is old. Ironically grew by dreading his growth, but I'm here now. Low self-esteem, something like macchiato, but I've grown to a man. Bare head put up.
Right? Low self-esteem, something like macchiatos, right? Macchiatos have layers of espresso and foam. Macchiato is one of the more famous coffee drinks, right? A caramel macchiato, but it has low steam, like low self-esteem to play on words. Sick.
But I'm here now. Low self-esteem, something like macchiato, but I've grown to a man. Bare hands with a beard down. I'm playing like accessories who I am now. The son of man and the son of God. I'm Uncle Sam's nephew with a credit score lower than eyelids from my king that did high all of the time trying to get designing.
Yeah. I like how he said the son of man and the son of God, but he can also be playing to son of Sam, which he referenced earlier in the rap, right? Because then he said, I'm Uncle Sam's nephew with a credit score lower than eyelids, right? A credit score goes from just 0 to 800, and most people are in that. You want to get at least to the 640 range. Anything below that is considered, you're in this like secondary market for financing. Ideally, you want to be 700 or above. But that's what he said. My kid, that I get high all the time trying to get to Zion. Zion's the land of the holy.
With a credit score lower than eyelids from my king that get high all of the time trying to get to Zion. To not be headed, know that Don Imus.
Don Imus was that radio DJ that got fired because he was watching the girls' basketball team. I think he was an announcer, and he called them nappy-headed hoes.
All of the time trying to get designing. The nappy headed know that Don Imus. I recite shit to rearrange the climate. Section 8, Con Ed bill flow. Fuck the polite shit. I write shit I believe is the right shit. And I admit to the accolades that I have been here, I've gotten way too serious. Homicide cyphers, they say I'm way too serious. From satellite radio to those TV appearances. Judge don't sway because of my lifetime sentences. Unaware.
You get the play on words, right? Judge being judged, but a courtroom judge. Lifetime sentences, giving out sentences, a judge and sentencing.
The gold inside the document, my penmanship, and they don't get the shit. They all got a problem. They don't see how y'all gravitating their eyes from Ogden to Austin. The text is sent to my inbox calling me the best without a label or album. How could one with a gun charge and one of the deeds is hit my shit and love still be the outcome? God, she ain't a track that can't get outrun. Boy, I'm Jesse Owens with the souls. The fingers wave that I'm here because ain't a style that can't get outdone.
Just sick wordplay. He said, God, see, there's not a track that can't get outrun. Now, there's multiple ways of looking at that because I heard him also say finger waves or tracks, right? He's talking about black hairstyles. But he's also said, God ain't seen a track that can't get outrun. I'm Jesse Owens with the souls, right? Who's Jesse Owens? Jesse Owens, his real name was James Cleveland Owens, but he went by Jesse. He died in 1980, but he was an American track and field athlete. He won 4 gold medals in the 1936 Olympic Games. He did the sprints. He did long jumps. And he was probably the most famous black athlete at that period in time. There was one year where he set 3 world records and tied another all in less than an hour. Right, but then after that, he says the finger wave at him, because in a style that can't get undone, right? Finger wave at him. He's talking about waving at someone, but also finger waves. And he said because in a style that can't get outdone. Now, when you get your hair done, right, you get either finger waves or he's talking about the tracks, right, or the soul. Just sick.
See, there was God, there was Moses, then it's me. But I split a different sea when Palm put to the rod, man. No bullshit, no bullpen. I hit home when I touch bases. No tobacco, jug, truth spitting till it's no sense, stop pulpitting.
He's talking about baseball, right? He said before God and Moses, there was me. But I split a different sea. Split a different sea when Palm put to the rod. I don't know what he split a different sea. Split a sea. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you understand that reference. Splitting a sea. Obviously, I know about Moses splitting the sea, but I'm thinking of splitting a bee or maybe splitting cunt. I don't know. That's probably too nasty with it. But he said no bullshit and no bullpenning, right? a bullpen is where the players sit in baseball. He said, I hit home when I touch bases, right? Home run, hitting the ball, touch bases, baseball. He said, no tobacco, just truth spitted. A lot of dudes in baseball use chewing tobacco, which is good. Not good, but it's actually horrible for you. Never chew tobacco.
This Keith Haring's been deaf to the doubt. Tobacco jump, truth spitting till there's no sense, stop pulpitting. This Keith Haring's been deaf to the doubt. Paint a mural so dope, pen and needle, Lupe and smile. So's the IT, blacked out and inspiring me. Cause those
he said a lot there, but he said Keith Haring. This Keith Haring's been deaf to the doubt. Keith Haring was an artist who died of AIDS in the 80s. He went from graffiti and he turned graffiti into fine art. He said, paint a mural so dope, pen and needle. Lupe would smile. Who's Lupe, right? Lupe Fiasco, another conscious rapper. Kick, push, right? So I think it's great that he's referencing it, but you never hear somebody reference Sosa IT. That's actually a group. Some would say it's a... what's another word? It's a society. It's actually the Society of Spoken Art. And they learn about language, metaphors, double entendres, and they go to workshops. It's a secret society of rappers that discuss lyricism. It's really cool that he understands that or even knows what that is. Not a lot of people in hip-hop do.
There's no sense, stop pulpitting. This Keith Haring's been deaf to the doubt. Paint a mural so dope, pen and needle, Lupe and smile. So's the IT, blacked out and inspiring me. Condolences if you fuck.
Black Thought on Funkmaster Flex. He had that crazy freestyle that he's become really well known for. He was known before, but that took a lot of the younger generation started like, yo, who's this Black Thought cat from the Roots? He said, yo, that inspired him, right?
All behind me, R.I.P. to Nipsey and those casualties in and out of rapping. I know it may sound cheesy, but rest easy, man. They don't pray for me.
He referenced Nipsey Hussle again because he referenced Laura London and Hustle earlier in the flow. And then he just said, I know it might sound cheesy, but rest easy, Mac. Right? Talking about cheesy and macaroni and cheese, but he's talking about Mac Miller, who died, I believe it was a drug overdose.
Forwards, they pray on us. They swim, rest in power.
Oh, what did he say there?
I know it may sound cheesy, but rest easy, man. They don't pray for us, they pray on us.
They don't pray for us, they pray on us, right? Pray with predator and prey. That's just sick. I think about predatory lending and things like that.
Rest in power to give power to vices that dig the grave for us.
They say rest in power, but they give power to the vices that dig the grades for us, right? You say rest in power, but you push Hennessy and all these different drinks and liquor and all these things that are bad for us.
Oreos and murals is cool from y'all niggas sleep, but when you gonna find the gumption to wait for us?
Gumption is just another way of saying courage.
Don't wait until awake to pray for us. Don't wait until Jesus walks the yay for us.
Oh, that's a reference to Kanye West and Jesus Walk. Jesus, what? God show me the way because the devil tried to hold me down, right? He said, don't wait until Jesus walks to yay for us. Talking about Ye, which is another way of saying Kanye West. He goes by the abbreviated name Ye.
Until awake to pray for us. Don't wait until Jesus walks the yay for us. Clap for me and encore before I'm a part of the funeral, part of the call. Let me smell the rose.
Give me my roses before I pass, right? Acknowledge me while I'm here.
Let your praise be the praise I redirect to Messiah before you take me home, nigga.
Woo! Yo, that's just sick with it. Oswin Benjamin, he referenced quite a few things there, and you'll see that I think more so than with any other rapper, one thing that I've noticed is the wordplay is sick, but the metaphors and the synonyms, he's referencing other points of his own flow, not just referencing other bodies of work, right? And that's very hard to write like that and still have important references. So, man, if you guys are a fan of intellectual music, I think intellectual hip hop is on the return. And if somebody dedicates this much time to writing something that's intelligent, we at least owe him this much time to break down these lyrics and understand really what the context of what he's saying and these references. I think it's important that we break down work like this. If you're a fan of the intellectual breakdown, man, I'd love to see you on this channel. We explore some of the more lyrically dense artists, and we're going to be getting into a lot of Aesop Rock, Akala, Ciroc, Black Thought, Oswin Benjamin. So really look forward to seeing you guys on the channel. Peace.